Hello challengers, Challenger AOE here, and today is the final video for Inca Tower Rush, video 3 of 3. Again, it's a Spirit of the Lore-esque video where we use Excel to kind of analyze and streamline an Inca Tower Rush. So the whole purpose of this, it was a 3-part series. The first one was to determine how many villages you need for constant villager production. The second part of this was where you need your villages and how many you need for constant tile production. And finally, finishing with what villages you need and where for blacksmith upgrades and eco upgrades. And that's what today's video will be focusing on. So the result of which is where to allocate your villages and what times, and finally how we can streamline the strategy to optimize and be sustainable in the future using the strategy. So let's get stuck straight into it. So I'll be using previous data from the previous videos. If you haven't seen those, go back to them. First of all, these are the upgrades. So first of all, you've got 40 seconds to build the blacksmith. Then you need 100 food at 40 seconds to upgrade scale mail, which gives your villagers +1 pierce and physical armor. Then at 80 seconds you need 150 food for forging for villagers to do +1 damage. And finally at 130 seconds you need 100 food, 50 gold for that tower range. So obviously, and I'll explain this a bit when I go through the summary, the most important thing for this strategy is for your villagers to be those tanky units in Feudal Age. So you really need these techs. I have ranked them in this order because I believe the most important thing is the armor. You want your villagers to be taking 50 hits to die because they'll be taking 1 damage from most units in Feudal Age. You want that. Second of all, you want your villagers to be doing more damage, so that way if there's a villager war, you've got the upper hand. And then thirdly, you've got that 1+ range to your towers with the extra damage, which I think might be good where your enemy might think that they're out of tower range, but then you get fletching after you've got 3 towers up, and all of a sudden they're +1 and they're able to range those things they couldn't originally. So that's what it looks like in terms of a time scale, where you build your blacksmith, you get scale mail, forging and fletching. So this is the points at which you need 100 food, 150 food, 100 food with 50 gold. So let's go straight into how much food you need and when. So again, we're using that previous data, and we're using the same iterative process, except for this time, in the same time scale, at the appropriate time scale, I've added the additional food. So here is the 50 food for a villager plus the 100 for scale mail, and you need it here. After the next period of time, you need that extra 150 food plus the 50 for villagers, and then finally the 100 for fletching. So what you want is you want to have a positive amount of food at each time increment, so that way you know you have enough after technology's finished researching. So this means that I can create villages at every increment as well as be able to research. What that looks like is this graph. Now this doesn't mean, so again this is your villager cost. This large peak here is again for each of the research. This doesn't mean you're in negative. This is still saying that you're in the positive. It would, if it drops below 0, that's when you've got enough food. So this is the minimum amounts for each of the food resources. You want 10 on if you've got farms, you've got 11 if sheep, 8 boats, 12 fishing or going fishing, 12 on deer, on berries, apologies, and then 10 on deer. So that's how many you need. That's with 200 food heading into Feudal Age. So that's for getting your blacksmith as well as getting your villagers. But remember, priority here is these upgrades. If you have to have downtime at your town center for these upgrades, then I recommend it happens, because these things are the most important. Alright, so let's move on to gold now. The only thing you need gold for is fletching. The first initial 50 gold will go to your loom to give you more HP and armor. The second set of 50 gold will go towards your fletching. Now you've got 130 seconds till you need fletching. With that in mind, you need 2 villagers on gold for that whole entire 130 seconds for you to get that over 50. So as you can see, if I have 1, you don't make it. If you have 2, you do make it. So what you probably want is 2 villagers. Once one of those villagers has dropped off a load, then you can send that villager to another resource, and as you'll find out, it'll probably be wood. And that's as simple as it is for gold. Now, moving on to wood, which is a little bit more complicated. So, again, if you want your eco upgrades, you need this much wood, this much food. Again, wood upgrade, food upgrade, if you want to build a barracks, and if you want 6 farms. 6 farms being the minimum amount we determined for villages on farms. However, remember, you want to prioritize your upgrades over villager production, because this strategy isn't about beating their eco, it's about putting their eco so far out because of your towers that it's not about your eco at all. It's about your towers and your villagers being the biggest tanks that they can be. Which sounds like a little bit of a self-empowerment video, but we'll move on from that. Again, we've used the wood cutting information. So again, this is the amount of wood that you need, time allocated for cutting. We've taken the amount of resources divided by the load amount collected per load, times it by the amount of time for each load, and plus 1 for a bit of contingency. And then we've adjusted this number here for the amount of villagers. Now, and that of course is your time adjustment because of, again, contingencies. So it's based upon the food one, where you need this amount of wood at a certain time. So again, this is your wood, horse collar, farms, barracks, set at increments of 27.6, which is your 26.6 plus 1. So each time your villagers come back and drop off a load. So you'll see that initially you don't have enough, but by the end you will. If you wanted to get this into the positive, even at 12 villages, you still can't do it. It's just not tangible. You can't do it. You can't meet this standard unless you have already got wood in the bank, which you should have. So with this amount of villages, at least by 520 seconds, you'll have enough wood in the bank to be able to replace all your farms and reseed your farms, and that's obviously quite important for your food eco. So I've based this on the fact that after 520 seconds, you are able to reseed every single one of your farms. So that's to say that over this period of 520 seconds, you will be able to build and upgrade all these things, and you will be able to build at least 2 houses. And well, you could actually build 4 more houses if you really wanted to. That's what the extra 30 is here for. So 6 villages is the minimum for wood. So now let's go and summarize everything. So we know from part 1 and 2 of this series how many villages we need. So this is the summary. Heading into feudal, you need 300 food in reserve. You need 50 gold. Now this is reserve, so this is your loom. So really this is actually going to be 0 in the end. You need at least 100 wood in the bank, which is important for your blacksmith upgrades. You need 200 stone in the bank, which is how much stone you start the game with. And you're advancing with 21 villages. So you've got 12 on food, 6 on wood, 2 on gold, 1 on stone. Once you hit feudal, the most ideal situation is this. 34 villages, however, are needed for the most ideal situation. This is ridiculous. You're not going to be able to get 13 vills quick enough to be able to achieve this most ideal situation. So why is it the most ideal? Well, you have villages, enough villages that you have villager production. You are able to produce, you also to get all your tech upgrades for your blacksmith. You've also got your 5 villages for your wood for towers, and you've got your 6 for the upgrades. You've got 8 for tower upgrades. You've got 5 ahead for tower upgrades, tower building, and you've got 5 for your towers. This is not sustainable, but this is where you want to reach in feudal age, to have constant tower production, constant villager production, and constant eco upgrades. Eventually though, you won't need eco upgrades, you'll have completed them all. So you move back to this model, which is far more reasonable at 26 villages. So what you see here is your 6 farmers. So we're going back to bare minimum. This is me creating a villager every time. No TC downtime. You might want to stick villagers on gold, so that way you collect gold for castle age. 5 for the tower, 8 for the tower, 5 again are going forward. So really, you don't need to have villagers here. You might just stick more villagers on wood and food. You might send more villagers forward. So again, if you send the bastion another 5 villagers forward, you'll need 10 wood, 16 stone. And again, these numbers will stay the same. Wood is also very important, because obviously at 5 you don't have enough for farms, so you probably want to move some villages to wood. So if you take away anything from this video, it's that heading into feudal age you need to have this many villages allocated as such. Once you hit feudal, you need to transition from that to the best case scenario, which is 34 villages. And then once you've reached best case scenario, this is the bare minimum that you need. So again, I just want to reiterate a really important fact here. The most important thing about this strategy is you building towers, because your towers are doing the damage. They're the ones slowing down their eco. Because it's not about your eco, it's about wrecking their eco. So you definitely need a 5 on wood, you definitely need 8 on stone, you definitely need 5 builders. Everything else is not important, well, isn't as important. Now, the second to that, what's more important, blacksmith or villager production? Well, the whole thing is built around you being able to get these. Because if your villagers aren't as strong as their villagers, if your villagers are on the exact same level, you are going to lose 9 times out of 10, because your villagers aren't taking 1 damage, they're taking just as much damage as their villagers. So if they attack your villagers with theirs, if they send militia, men-at-arms, spearmen, you name it, you want to have that edge, you need these upgrades. So this is the second most important thing, not your villager production. So if you need to take villagers off food to stick it on wood, then you should focus on getting your wood up to here before you get your villagers to here. So my recommendation is 5, 8, 5. Yes, definitely. You then should start sticking villagers from, so keep your 6 on food, but move them onto wood before you go back to food. So maybe go 2 wood, 1 food, 2 wood, 1 food, maybe something similar to that. Just because you need those blacksmith upgrades. Your town centre, yes, it might be idle, you might not be producing villagers, but that's not the important thing. The important thing about this strategy is getting those tanky villagers to put up those tanky towers, and that's it, end of story. So, that's the end of this series. In future videos, I am hoping to work on this strategy in-game. Again, this is a simulation of what should happen, but it probably won't happen this way. So I really want to try it out and streamline it and make this some kind of meta. If you like this video, if you please give this video a like, obviously, subscribe to the channel. If you want access to this spreadsheet, I can email it to you. Just contact me on challengeraoe@gmail.com, and I'll catch you guys in future videos. Catch your challenges.